Episode 2, Underwater City, Synopsis. After Chris has graduated from elementary school, he has been visited by the dragon, Elandra and Clare, whom he'd met in the underground world in his previous life. The purpose is to save the Earth from the forces of darkness. The Earth is currently undergoing a period of ascension and is awakening to become a planet of light. However, the dark forces are determined to stop this at all costs. To successfully ascend, it's necessary to obtain the Dragon Stone, which contains the power of the legendary dragon, the Super Dragon. And Chris is the chosen one, who is qualified to obtain the crystal element. Chris and his friends are invited to an underwater city and embark on an adventure to search for the crystal elements. Main story Chapter 1. The cherry blossoms in the schoolyard are stretching their branches out, ready to burst into bloom. The warmth today will surely encourage more flowering. As Sana was looking up to see if there were any blooming buds anywhere, she felt a tap on her shoulder from behind. When Sana turned around, Yuka was standing in front of her with her mother. Behind them are Mina and Kaori, who look excited. Sana, as instructed by Yuka's mother, held up her diploma for a commemorative photo. Then, one by one, her classmates came over and asked for photos. Sana felt like a celebrity as she struck a pose for each one. Meanwhile, the noise at the entrance started again. Finally, it seems that the last homeroom for Class 2 has finished. Ms. Sato, the homeroom teacher for Class 2, said that this was her first time teaching 6th graders, so the farewell speech probably took too long. Sana could easily imagine the young female teacher shedding tears as she said goodbye. As Sana posed for photos, she tried to find a pale, small boy among the students coming through the entrance.
Chris, are you going out somewhere during spring break?
Takeshi called out to Chris as he left the classroom.
No, I don't have any particular plans. If I had to say, I'll just take Bibi for a walk every day.
What's that about?
Takeshi said, laughing.
Well then, let's go exploring somewhere again with Yohei and Hiroto on our bikes.
Sure, that's nice.
Okay, I'll let you know when we've decided when to go. See you then.
Yeah, see ya.
As they left the front door, Chris waved back to Takeshi. They have become good friends. Sana smiled in her heart as she watched Chris and Takeshi from afar. It was the Monday after Bibi died. Chris looked different in that morning when he came to school. The gloomy atmosphere was gone, and it was bright like when he used to hang out with Sana. And that day, during lunch break, Chris was playing kickball with the bullies, Takeshi and Yohei. It was a mystery to Sana. She felt like she was in a trap, wondering if Chris's bullying was something that happened on another timeline. When Sana asked him why, Chris simply replied, "Nothing happened." It was as if the bullying of Chris had been a lie, and everyone around him began to interact with him normally again. Either way, Sana was happy to see Chris regain his energy and become cheerful like before, and decided to accept the change. Chris noticed Sana waiting under the cherry tree and ran up to her with a smile. Then they said their final goodbyes to elementary school.
We've finally graduated,
Sana muttered to herself as the two of them walked side by side on the way home.
I don't really want to go to middle school.
Really?
Why?
Chris looked at Sana quizzically, as if he was surprised.
Huh?
What seemed unexpected to Chris was in fact surprising to Sana.
Well, when I go to middle school I'll have to dye my hair black and keep my nails short, right? The school rules will be stricter,
Sana said, gazing at her long, neatly trimmed nails.
Besides, there are kids coming up from other schools, and also, I have to join clubs.
Indeed, Chris was a little worried about the idea of unfamiliar students coming from other elementary schools. The thought of students criticizing him again because of his name or his appearance makes his stomach feel like it's being twisted. But there is always a reason why each person finds themselves in that situation. Chris knew firsthand that if he can accept that and understand the other person's background, the situation can change overnight. So, although he was anxious, he was no longer scared. However, to avoid conflict, he agreed with Sana's opinion.
It's true that it might be a lot of hassle.
Then, Sana sighed deeply and muttered, "It's boring."
Huh? What?
Chris asked again, and Sana groaned,
How can I say this? I'm a bit concerned about my elementary school life just ending like this, or maybe it's more about growing up like this.
Sana didn't really understand how she felt, so she searched for words to express the way she was feeling right now.
Of course, I want to grow up quickly and get out of this rural area, go to the city and try all sorts of things. But somehow, I feel like I wish I had done more of the things that I could only do as a child.
When she spoke of the vague thoughts she had, Chris asked back, for example. But Sana didn't respond to that. Chris didn't pursue it any further. Chris knew that if he kept asking Sana, who had gone silent, it would only make her more upset. As the two of them walked in silence, Sana suddenly stopped as if she had just thought of something.
Why don't we go somewhere far away during spring break? What?
Hearing something he hadn't expected, Chris couldn't help but ask again.
Far away? Where? I don't know.
Sana shook her head.
I just thought of it suddenly.
Sana said, biting her lower lip as if thinking about something.
Well, I guess you could say it was my last year of elementary school before I went to middle school, and since it was spring break, I wanted to try something I wouldn't normally do.
Chris tilted his head at Sana's words.
So, you mean, we're going out just the two of us? Yes, of course.
Sana nodded vigorously, as if it was a stupid question.
Is there a problem? No, there isn't a problem.
Chris shook his head.
But even though we graduated today, we're still in elementary school, and I don't think two kids can go very far by themselves. That's why it's fun, isn't it? Maybe so, but I don't think my parents would allow the two of us to go far away by ourselves, even if it's with you. Wouldn't your mother be worried, as well? Why not just keep it a secret from your parents? Wouldn't it be okay if we said we were having a sleepover at someone's house as a graduation celebration? My parents are going on a trip from the day after tomorrow. And I'm sure my sister will want to invite some friends over, so it would be better for her if I wasn't there. Wait, hold on, you're planning on staying overnight?
Chris couldn't help but ask, thinking that he had misheard. He checked and Sana replied.
Of course, that's what I'm planning.
She stared back at Chris as if he was seeing something strange.
Well, we could go for a day trip anytime, and we couldn't go very far. I don't think that's possible.
Chris shook his head.
We don't know how much it will cost, and if I said I was going to stay over at someone's house, my parents would definitely want to go and say hello to the parents. Besides, there's no place that would let kids like us stay over.
After staring at Chris, who answered calmly for a moment, Sana looked down in disappointment.
I see. Yeah, I'm sure. Sana is quick-witted and has excellent observation skills, but sometimes she says things that are out of the blue.
As Chris was thinking this, looking at Sana with her head down, Sana suddenly raised her head.
Well then, why don't we go somewhere we can go, even if it's just for a day trip?
Chris nodded without thinking. It was unusual for Sana to want to do something like that, and there was no particular reason to deny her wish. Other than the promise he'd made earlier to go on a bike ride with Takeshi and the others, Chris didn't really have any particular plans.
But where should we go? If we go, the train is the best, right?
Chris suggested, and Sana's voice lit up with joy.
Yeah, that's right, we can't go very far by bus, and the range we can go by bicycle is limited.
Then the two of them started to walk home, discussing where to go.
Okay, I'll think about it, too, so Sana, call me when you've decided where you want to go and when.
In the end, they arrived at Sana's house without having decided on a destination or anything else. As Chris was waving goodbye and heading off, Sana called out to him.
Why don't you come in my house for a bit? My parents said they were going out shopping after the graduation ceremony, so they'll probably be a little late. Let's decide on the destination together on the internet.
Chris stopped and looked down as if he was thinking, then nodded.
Yeah, that sounds nice. Then I'll go home and take BB for a walk and then I'll come back.
Chris replied, and Sana clapped her hands in front of her face.
If that's the case, is it okay if I visit your house? I want to see BB as well. He must have grown a lot by now, right? Yes, all his fur has grown back.
Chris nodded with a smile.